Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. We're just a couple of days before we start the new year 2025. And this will be my last video of this year, I think. I mean, if I get a chance to record one before the end of the year, I'll probably upload it that day before, like hours before New Year's and stuff. But anyway, for this video, I mean, most of my video I focus on muscular dystrophy, my disability. But this video, I want to focus on a topic I feel like everyone with a disability can relate. You know, there's a lot in society, throws a lot of terminology when they refer to someone with a disability. Some, use unoffensive, rude comments toward someone with a disability in general. Some use like the actual terminology when you refer to someone and stuff. It's like when it comes to race, there's like the proper way to refer to someone to that's a certain race, and then we have the offensive racist terminology or comments or whatever you want to call it. So for this video, I found an article like showing the proper way to refer to someone with a disability depending on the disability, and the not proper way to you know describe or refer to someone. How there's a lot of words that some are proper, some are not. I mean, I don't really get offended by whatever you want to say, but just be straightforward, and stuff. So that's why I'm gonna say a couple of terminology. Some are probably used to, some you have heard, like someone with a person with a disability. Here's one: the recommended language. It says person with a disability. I mean, yeah, I feel like I feel like that's the proper way to call some person with a disability. And a language to avoid, supposedly, it says disabled person. I mean, person with a disability sound more formal, but disabled person, to me, honestly, my opinion, as someone who has a disability, who's in a obviously 24/7, 365 days in a wheelchair. I mean, disabled person. I mean, I don't know if I would consider it offensive, to me, but I don't know if other people think this is offensive. And then we have, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna start off with the recommended language. And we have person with type of impairment, meaning person with muscular dystrophy in my case. Then we have this is what it says: persons with disabilities. When you're talking about more than one, people with disability only easy read documents, informal text, and oral speech. That's when you're referring to some people with disability. Oh, that person can only read easy documents, informal text, or oral speech. Some, can't talk, so oral. I mean, they can't. Wait. They can't hear, but they can talk. And, say it orally and stuff. Then we have handicap. I mean, this one probably doesn't go well. I mean, people in the disability we won't take it. I mean, I don't really care if you call me handicap or not, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's like a way to refer to someone. I mean, for me, handicap sounds like saying calling someone, I don't know, a racist, comment the N word. Oh, I mean, imagine if someone came out to it, what's up, handicap, or handicap. I mean, handicap just sounds. I mean, I don't know if offensive, but handicap. I mean, handicap. I mean, think about it. And then person with special needs. Special needs. I mean, like, feel like I don't know who the who created that term. Special needs. It sounds like we special needs makes it sound like we all are childs. Little kids, 5 years, 6 years, special needs. I mean, I don't really feel like it makes. What makes us special? Like really, like think about it. Special needs. We don't need special needs. We need accommodation that makes life easier, not special needs. Like if it was special needs, like how come I don't have like I don't know, special needs? Like what can I compare with special needs? It's like they're saying like, oh, poor thing, he needs special help, but it's accommodation sounds better than handy capable. It says, I don't know what the heck is that handy capable. I mean, what who handy capable? I haven't heard that one before. I don't know what the heck. Atypical. Atypical it says. I don't know what atypical means. Person living with a disability it says you should avoid. I mean, is this the same thing? Right? Person with a disability, person with disability. Sounds the same to me. Person with a disability, person with a disability. Don't see no different. Differently able. Never heard that one before. People of all abilities. What the heck does people of all ability have to do with being offensive? People of determination, personally with a disability, same thing. I mean, I just found this article. I mean, I didn't really check it, like make sure what was the terminology, but whatever. You guys can leave a comment down below. What do you guys think with all these terminologies? Should some or the terminology used right now that I've been reading off? Do you think it's offensive? It's not offensive. It's proper. Leave your guys' comments down below, like always. Person without disability, normal. I mean, person without a disability is when I mean, I call people normal. Like say language to a voice is normal. I call people with who have a disability like people with a disability. Obviously, and then I consider everyone else who don't have a disability normal, and it's offensive. So I don't know. It's not offensive. Healthy. I call them. I have this disease, and someone else it's a healthy. It's a healthy individual, but it says healthy shouldn't be used. I don't know. Able body. I mean, I feel like that's the more typical one that people go. Oh, he's an able body people, unable body person. So typical. I don't know what the heck. What does typical have to do nothing with this? Whole of sound body mind. That's supposedly that's the proper way is person with a disability. The rest of the population. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And then it says have disability impairment condition. That's like the proper way to say. Suffer from. You shouldn't say affected by, stricken by, trouble with. I don't know. Then this one probably we can. I feel like this part that I'm gonna be going off. I feel like everyone been here who has a disability. Obviously, person with an intellectual disability, person with an intellectual impairment. Intellectual disability means like it's physical. It's muscular dystrophy isn't that intellectual disability. Person with an impairment. Impairment means like something maybe you are deaf or I think something like that, or you have a very don't have a very like aggressive disability. I don't know. I should and need to research. And then we have the most famous word to refer to someone with a disability. I know most of you. I mean, I feel like some have used it. Now, I'm not trying to offend someone with you know, a disability, but just, you just say it, or some say it referring to someone with a disability, like the typical word. I mean, like most of your, which one I mean, like most of you watching the video, like, you know which one I mean. It started with a specific letter, because I'm not gonna say it, obviously, because I'm disabled as well. So it's like if I say it, people might take it the wrong way. I should not even say it because I'm gonna have a disability. So it'd be like, well, your whole channel is making awareness, educating people on how to treat people with disability. You go off and say this word, the typical R word. Yeah, I feel like that one is like for me. I always seen it as it's like when you call someone the N word or any offensive word referring to, you know, race. When it comes to race, there's different terminology to offend someone depending where you are, what race you are. Typical is the N word, that it's used to offend people with African Americans, or there's other, can't think of one that offends Hispanic people, and stuff. So everybody has a terminology. When it comes to race, we do too. Like people with disability, that was like saying the N word to us, basically in our faces. If you think about it, like really think about it. I mean, I feel a lot of people, we don't really think about that. Like the N word and R word are the same. Then we have simple, slow. Yeah, slow can be thrown around with people with disability, because some people, how they talk slow. They have like, they see speech and stuff for that, but people will probably like, oh, he's so slow in talking. I write slow because I don't have enough strength. Like I can't grab a pencil and be like, oh, I'll write fast and stuff. I can't. It's harder for me. So yeah, maybe they can say affected brain damage. Brain damage, yeah. I mean, most of society sees someone with a disability, like in a wheelchair, basically, like myself. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to. I feel they think everyone who's in a wheelchair, they use the R word to this, to basically describe them, and stuff. Like I'm not mentally. I don't know if mentally challenged is a proper way to say it. Some people see someone in a wheelchair. You refer, oh, you see someone in a wheelchair, and you just instantly be like, oh, he's R. The R word and stuff. Obviously, you just go off your assumptions, which for me, you don't have to go off on your assumptions. I mean, you can just ask, like, what's so hard of asking? It's like when you ask someone, oh, what your culture is, what your race is, just starting a conversation, like, you can just be like, oh, can I ask you what your disability is, and it depends on the person if they want to answer it or not. But, I'm fine with answering any question, you can just ask me, like, I'm not gonna do anything to you if you ask. I feel like people are like, oh, if I ask him, he's probably gonna get up. So I'm not gonna get up. So I'm not gonna like grab you and be like, I'm not letting you go and stuff. No, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, there's people with disability that do that, but it's because they have a disability that, they or like, you know, what you may call it, like they have their disability affects them, they don't really understand what's going on around and supposed. But I had a teacher, like when I was in elementary, she had like a son with I think Down syndrome, or no, I think autism and stuff. And she told my mom, like, doesn't matter if the person has a disability, they still understand what you're saying. You just have to find a way to talk to them. Like, oh, you're doing this. This is not okay. Instead, because there's people like, I feel like this. Probably I can mention this in this. There's people that, when someone in a wheelchair does something, it's like, oh, let him. He don't know better. I mean, just because he's disabled doesn't mean he doesn't understand what's from wrong and right. What's wrong, what's right. Doesn't mean that. So, interactual challenge, subnormal, unsound mind, feeble minded, mentally handicapped. Mentally handicapped. I mean, I haven't heard mentally challenged. I don't know if that's like the proper way and stuff. So yeah, I took. I wanted to talk a little bit more on that section of the person with a psychosocial disability. I mean, I feel like I said, like the, the terminology you shouldn't use when someone's, insane, crazy. I mean, I think we all say, oh, that person's insane, that person's crazy, oh, he's a maniac, he's a psycho, hypersensitive, lunatic, demented, panicked, agitated, mentally deranged, mentally ill. I mean, I feel like those terminology for us seems normal. Like we always say, I mean, I feel that terminology, even if we always say like, "Oh, that person's insane," "Oh, that person's crazy," or "You're a maniac," "You're a psycho." I mean, I feel like those are terms we throw around like, with each other. You know, when crazy, especially like if your friend, family member does something, insane. We always like, "Oh, you're insane, you're crazy," but we're not trying to offend someone. We always throw that around. I mean, psycho. I mean, it's funny because there's a movie named Psycho. I mean, we use all these terminology in horror movies. Oh, that. We can who can we compare to like any horror movie? We can be like, oh, that character's insane. We can say like, maybe we can go with Halloween. Michael Myers and it's insane, crazy. He's a maniac. He's a psycho. Whatever. But I mean, we all say probably the most we can people say is you're a lunatic, insane, crazy, maniac, psycho, deranged, and stuff. Then we have the person who can hear, deaf person. The deaf is you say you should just call the person deaf person. You don't need to say the deaf. Hearing impaired. I mean, what's wrong with hearing impaired? Like I think that's the medical terminology. Deaf and dumb. That one no. Deaf and mute. No, definitely not. That ain't how. Definitely those two are not very friendly to say to someone who's deaf or anybody. Person who is deaf, that's the right word. Person with a hearing disability, yeah, I can agree with that one. Person with a hearing impairment, person with hearing loss, hard of hearing person, deaf blind person. I don't know if that's the proper one. Then we have blind person. The blind, particularly sighted. The blind, I mean, you can just say blind person. Person who is blind, person with a visual disability, person with a visual impairment, person with low vision, deaf blind person. That's like the proper way. Then we're going to my disability again. First, we went to what's like the proper way to intellectual disabilities, my category. But before the end of the video, I'll find you those terminology, what they mean and stuff, so people can understand. Cause I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm not. I don't feel like doing it. I'll do it right now. Person with a physical disability. My disability is physical. I feel most of us who are in a wheelchair, we have heard of these: cripple, invalid, deformed, lame. Lame. I don't know what lame has to do with anything. Handicap, physically challenged, person with a physical limitation, limp. Cripple probably is the main one, and handicap. And the proper way is person with a physical disability, person with a physical impairment. Physical and mentally disabled is a whole different, you know, thing. Some people are like, oh, people assume that just because you're in a wheelchair, you have mentally disability, but it's more physical than not. Wheelchair user, person who uses a wheelchair, person with a mobility disability, person with a mobility impairment, person using mobility device, confined, restricted to a wheelchair. Like I feel like that's what most people will use. When you have an accident, oh, he's confined to a wheelchair, or he's restricted to a wheelchair. Like I feel like those words I felt like never really thought of something. Wheelchair bound, maybe, yeah, that one does not belong. I don't think I want to advise you use someone when referring to someone or speaking to someone who's in a wheelchair. Then we have the typical rude comments that we think when we see someone who is basically short in stature. Midgets, dwarf, stunted, obviously, when you're talking about someone who's like a short person, I'll say little person is the proper way, supposedly. Person of short stature, person with, I don't know what is it, chondroplasia. Only if the person has this condition. So I mean, midget and dwarf. I feel like that's like very for people who are have a, because there's a disability that people are born short. I mean, but most people we always, there's a lot of comedians, movies, comedy movies that use little people. Obviously, they always use midgets, dwarf. Like I don't know if you guys been talking about a movie. I mean, we all seen the movie Elf. The Christmas one when when that person goes, like when Elf offends, that little person, that he kept calling him an elf, 'cause he saw him small. You remember that? I don't know. You guys remember that scene? But you know how they forgot the actor's name, who's like, a little person. Obviously, I'm not, and he keeps calling him, elf, like, oh, he's a Santa's helper and stuff, something like that. But anyway, so I kind of remember that. Remember how I mean, most movie use when they use like someone not short, they make it entertaining. I used to watch wrestling. There was obviously a small wrestler, short wrestler, and stuff. They would, I mean, it was just for entertainment purpose, not trying to offend anybody. Well, we see movies, comedy movies and stuff where and there's even comedians that are little people. But most people might find this crazy, but some of them are married, have a family, actually, but their kids are not like they're not born with their disability. They're born with a normal status. Normal height. And stuff. Some have family. I think there's a show that they reality show. I think they had like little people. A family who have a disability that were born short and stuff. Then we have another thing: person with Down syndrome, person with trisomy 21. I don't know what trisomy 21 means. Mongolo, special person, Down. Those are the terms. People with Down syndrome are always discriminated. Like you know, a lot of these people with Down syndrome, they are treated like if they were little kids. Some of these people with Down syndrome person with Down syndrome are grown. There's actually grown men, grown women who have Down syndrome, and people discriminate them because how people with Down syndrome look. But most of these are grown people that go to work. They have a job. They have a family. They do all this. I mean, they want to be treated the same. Like there's people who have Down syndrome that drink beer. Like just because they have Down syndrome doesn't mean they don't drink, they don't smoke. But if sometimes if they go to a bar, they'll be like turned down. Be like they probably won't get served just because they have Down syndrome. But it's like the person just wants to do what everyone else. Like he wants to have a drink or buy cigarettes when they're appropriate age and stuff. Being having a disability doesn't mean like you can't do those things. But people see someone with Down syndrome, they be like, "Oh, don't hang out with that person" and stuff like that. Just because they have Down syndrome doesn't mean they can't do things. Some of these individuals with Down syndrome work. And they're better employees than most people with who doesn't have a disability. Especially if they work at a restaurant. They probably will greet you better than someone who doesn't have a dis. When imagine if they take your order at McDonald's or Wingstop or Burger King car or any restaurant, they probably do it with a smile, even happy to do it, serve you, not like most people. I mean, not everyone. There's people who actually, when you order your food, they're very, they treat you with respect. They take the same. Maybe most of these people with Down, they treat you better when they serve you, like a Denny's, IHOP. Because some people, not saying everyone, some people that work there treat you very great. Very friendly. They with the customers and be like, "Oh, what can I get you guys?" and stuff like that. Like in a good way. So some people with Down syndrome have a job and they probably treat the customers better than people that don't have a disability in some cases, or they're even harder workers. You know, person with ableism. albino. I don't know what albinism is. Person affected by leprosy. My bad, my pronunciation. Leprosy patient. Person who uses communication. Nonverbal. I mean, nonverbal. I feel like that's a medical term, honestly. Nonverbal person who uses a communicate. Nonverbal, like when people tell you, "Oh, he's nonverbal," I don't see what's wrong. Can't talk. I mean, I don't see it offensive, but I mean, I get it. There's people who get offense to these terms, even if I say, "Oh, it's not." Like for me, it's not a big deal, but people who deal with it, it's like, okay, it is a big deal for them. I mean, I'm just saying, accessible parking, disabled, handicap parking. I don't see what's wrong with handicap parking. I call it handicap parking, and I'm handicapped, and I'm this. I still call it handicap parking or accessible parking. I mean, if you go to a concert, game, or anywhere, it's not gonna say handicap parking, accessible parking, or accessible seating. It's not gonna say handicap seating. It's gonna, or not, or if we're talking about the park, it's not gonna say oh handicap parking. Instead, it's gonna be accessible parking. I call it handicap parking, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. I mean, for me, like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be offended. Next time I see handicap park, I'm gonna get offended. Yeah, I'm gonna complain now. You know what I mean? Like I say handicap parking, accessible parking, the correct word when you're talking about it. I call it handicap parking, and I'm handicapped, so I mean I don't know. I don't know my fellow viewers who are in a wheelchair. Do you think it's appropriate for us to call it handicap parking? Like, I don't know. Do you think it's offensive if someone be like, "Oh, there's handicap parking over there," or like, or sometimes I ask like, "Where's the handicap parking?" I don't call it accessible parking, so I don't know. My fellow people in a wheelchair, like, do you think we should call it accessible parking or handicap parking? Leave your comments down below. Parking reserved for person with disabilities. I mean, reserved parking, yeah. Accessible bathroom, I call it handicap bathroom, restroom, handicap restroom, whatever, same thing. You know, I mean, I don't call it like accessible. Yeah, the proper terminology is accessible bathroom. I call it handicap bathroom. Next time, I'm gonna change the name to it. Instead of let's just call it instead of handicap parking, let's call it VIP parking then. Like I was saying, we should just call it VIP parking because you park right in front. The handicap parking is right in front, whatever place or building you're going to. So might as well just call it that. Yeah. Anyway, those are the last column of terminology. There's second part of the article says terms requiring additional clarification from a language perspective. Caption versus. I mean, I'll do a part two for this one because I feel like my laptop is dying, honestly, and I don't think I'll be, you know, able to do all this. But it looks 13 organization. Then I'll probably go over like some of the. It says organization for a person with disability. That help people with disability and stuff. I mean, that's gonna be after another video. You know. But this will probably make a part two. The other part where it says terms requiring additional clarification from a language perspective. So anyway, hope you guys like this video. Hope you probably learn a little bit of how the terminology, the correct and not correct terminology. I mean, some of the terminology, I'm like, I don't really think it belongs there. But anyway, like whoever's like, for all my viewers watching this video, like what terminology you think it's appropriate, but the article is saying it's not. Like, leave your guys' comments down below. I thought I'm making this video, for a while now. Like, I tried putting like what comments or stereotype people with disability have to deal with, and stuff. I couldn't find anything. Like, I did a lot of research and nothing came out that I felt like was great content, a great article. This one was great, I feel like, and stuff like that, and especially I would like the part two more because it's gonna give the definition of what each terminology means. Because sometimes we hear a word and we don't even know the term, and it just sounds offensive, But anyway, hope you guys like this video and stuff. It's like I feel like it's with this channel, I'm trying to educate people, make awareness about my disability, but also like talk about like in general, disability in general. This video is more for everyone, every disability community. It's not just muscular dystrophy community. And it's not just for the disabled community, for like society, people that, because there's people that have never really interacted with people with disabilities. Sometimes they're scared to interact, but maybe if people like understood like what's the proper way to talk to someone with it, there's no proper way, but what I'm trying to say, like, there's terminology that's acceptable for us people who are with a disability, with muscular dystrophy, any disability, there's not a specific way you can really interact with people with a disability. I mean, yes, like autism, maybe like with autism, there's a lot of things you need to know. Oh, some don't like loud noises, some don't like this, some don't like that, Certain disability, you need to learn how to interact 'cause you don't want to say something like autism. Some don't like noise, some like imagine and stuff like that. Or you don't know the person's disability, you can always just ask their caregiver you know, or ask the person with a disability instead of just assuming and using whatever terminology you grew up with, or you feel like it's the appropriate. Nah, it's not. It's not like that. So I hope this video, whoever's watching it, helps them to better understand what's like how to. I won't call it interact, but I think interaction is the word that feel like it's appropriate to use when I'm trying to say. I hope I make sense. If not, I mean, I try, like, I always try to make my videos to make sense, like, look at different viewpoints, not just my viewpoint, like, different viewpoints, like, different opinions, and stuff. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And I hope everyone has a great 2025 year in a few days. Until next time.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride.